Alright, I have cast on the second side 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 meshes. I'm going to go ahead and put one more mesh on here. Remember, it comes around the gauge, under the dowel rod, over the gauge stick. There's the first half of the hitch. There's the second hitch. It goes around the dowel rod, over the gauge. Looks like that. And then you knot it. So now I have 2 gauge sticks, 2 sets of knots. And now it is time to flip the frame again, because I'm working left to right. And I'm going to pull this gauge stick out, bring it around so it can work here on the green ones. So again, I bring the thread around the gauge stick, through the mesh, hold it, missed it there. Get that organized there. Pinch it, throw a loop around, come under both parts of this loop, this mesh, through the loop formed by the yellow thread, pull it, pull it, pull it, turn it loose at the last second. There it is. This is called a sheet bend knot. Again, consult your local Boy Scout. So this is all you do. You follow the gauge stick around, put the shuttle up the loop, pinch it, throw the shuttle thread around, so it forms a loop, come up behind the mesh, through the loop formed by that. You can see how it's going around there. Pull it, pull it, pull it, and then turn loose. There. And just keep following it around. The size of the thread determines the size of the knot, but the size of the gauge determines the size of the mesh. So I need my next green loop. Come up through the green loop, the green mesh, pinch it, throw around a loop, come around there, under the mesh, and there. That one made it pop back. Wasn't seating quite correctly. So I've got this around the front of the gauge. You come up around the back of the gauge, through the mesh, scoot it along, and yes, ultimately these will fall off the back of the gauge stick. Do not worry. Now that you've knotted it, you don't need the gauge stick to maintain the size of the mesh. So I've got this draped around the front of the gauge stick. I'm pinching it into place, making a loop, coming up under that mesh, holding on with my thumb until it's almost there, and there it is. You can see the two colors blending very well. one more time. So I free that from there, come up, the thread is around the front of the gauge, it goes around to the back of the gauge, and it comes up in the mesh, there, just like that. Scoot the gauge along a little bit, pinch it, make your loop, come under your mesh, through that loop, there's your knot, hold it till the last second, pull. Now you repeat it 10,000 times. Feels a little odd going around the corners and flipping it. It does get easier. It hangs a little weird at first, but after you've done a row or two and gotten away from the cast on part, it goes easier. It seems like a lot of thread going all over the place. Once you get the hang of it, you start to be able to figure out what is going where. One more time, and in the next segment, I'll show you how to increase. Okay, the thread's going around the front of the gauge, coming up around the back of the gauge, going through the mesh, holding that tight, making a loop, coming under that mesh. There's your knot. Remember, it's called a sheet bend knot. Consult with a Boy Scout in your area, and there it is. And then in the next segment, I'll show you how to increase so it will grow.